Can I get an H? Can I get an E? Can I get an L and another L and a no so I can say hello, dear YouTube. Welcome back to Yogi Logic channel. So today I had this thought that I really want to make a video about gratitude. Because why? Because gratitude is one of those things that I think for us, born into privilege. And the way I define that is that we have clean water, we have access to enough food, we never have to go hungry. We have shelter, we have a roof over our head, we don't have to be outside where it's like -1 degrees. We can actually sleep inside. So what ends up happening is that when we're born with all of the good in our life, that it can become really easy to actually, just to take it for granted, just to forget about it. And what gratitude is defined as actually in the dictionary is being thankful and showing appreciation. And for me, what it comes down to is that it's actually the fact that if you're grateful, you're actually aware of the good that you have instead of focusing on the bad that you have, on the things that you don't have. So what we got to understand here, the way that this works in our mind, is that we got at the stem of our brain, we got this group of nerves called the reticular activation system. And the reticular activation system it sort of acts as a filter for your brain, because what happens is when you go out in the world on your daily life, you get a ton of sensory impulses. You see stuff, you hear things, you taste things, you touch things, and there's so much that's coming into your brain that if it was actually focusing on everything that's coming in, your head would blow up probably. So God gave us this system that acts as a filter. So what happens is that due to reticular activation system, the reticular activation system actually brings to our attention the things that it thinks that are important for us. So basically what that means is that whatever we focus on habitually, our reticular activation system is going to try to bring more of that to us. It's going to try to bring more of those things to our attention. So consequently, it goes to say that if we're focusing on the good that we have in life, we're gonna see more of the good that we have in life. But as well, if we focus on the bad in life, we're gonna get more of the bad in life. So this is really important to understand, because I think, and I see this all the time in interactions in the street, that I see that a lot of people, especially in the first world, who are born into privilege, like I said, have a tendency to forget and to ignore, or to not even be aware of actually how well things are, how much good they already have in life. And what happens is that instead, they've primed their reticular activation system to focus on all the petty annoyances in life, on things that really make you angry, things that make you miserable. Say, we get a crappy sandwich. Like, I had one of these, ready-made vegan sandwiches, and maybe the bread is kind of bland, like there's a lot of additives in it. There's not a lot of, the vegetables aren't fresh. And, I can find all of these things to say why this sandwich is crap. But what I can also forget at the same time is that, well, actually, there's a lot of people in this world who don't have a sandwich. They don't have a sandwich. We're finding the reasons why we shouldn't be happy. So what happens by consequence is the more we focus on what doesn't make us happy, the more unhappy we're gonna become. And it's really unfortunate, because actually we could have, and we probably all have, probably everybody who's watching this video probably has actually a much better life than they even realize. And it's all about perspective again. There's this saying in English, which is really accurate, I think, which is that misery loves company. And I've really seen this in my own life. The times when I was miserable, I was attracting really miserable people into my life. And we're talking about how shit life is. And guess what? We found so much more shit in our lives and why our lives are bad. But the thing that happens actually, the way that life can teach you a lesson is when it takes things away from you that you take for granted. Now that you don't have those things, you actually start to miss them, and now you would appreciate them if you had them. So let me give you an example. In 2016, I started to have this really, really intense pain in my right hip. And for me, since I'm a guy who's really active, I love doing sports, I love moving around. But suddenly, even just walking, it was giving me a lot of pain, and I couldn't walk for like more than half an hour without actually having to take a break because my hip was hurting so much. And so I ended up going to the doctor, and what the doctor told me is that, hey, Laura, you got an irregular hip bone, and what's happening is that your hip bones on the right, they're kind of rubbing against each other when you're moving. And what ended up happening is that I actually had a really kind of severe stress fracture along that right hip. And the doctor, he told me even that it might be possible that we need to put a hip replacement on you. We might need to replace your hips. And you can imagine how that made me feel, how scared I was. And suddenly I was really starting to think that, man, if I could walk again without pain, I would be so happy. And fortunately, the thing that ended up happening was that the doctor he went for another kind of operation where they actually removed a part of that bone in my right hip that was rubbing against the other bone, and so that it could move inside in a much better way. And fortunately, that operation was a success. And it's still something that this right hip that in the past 2 years it's given me a little bit of pain, but gradually it's got less and less. And now I'm in a really cool point where I can actually walk without feeling any pain. And now what happens is that each time that I can walk without pain, I'm extremely grateful for it. I'm so grateful to be able to move around and to run. And because this is what life taught me, that just being able to move is privilege. It's a privilege that not everybody has in this world. I'm also always very touched by homeless people. I feel a lot of compassion for them. But there was this one particular guy in Madrid that I saw. He's on this main street called Gran Via, and so this guy, he had actually lost all his limbs. So no hands, no feet, and he was kind of perched on this piece of cardboard. And he had this piece of cardboard saying, "Please help me," or something like that. And I think he was holding a cup in his teeth, just moving it around like this, just so that people would put some money in it. And I was thinking, what would life be like if I was that guy? So I'm perched next to the McDonald's, next to the Burger King, next to the Starbucks, and all day, if I was that guy, I would see people eating food, eating so much food, like stuffing themselves, drinking coffee, like having croissants, having pastries, but knowing at the same time that, since I'm me, I can't get any of that. I can see it, I can smell it, but I can't move, I can't get it. So imagine how you would feel like. And so what happened, one of the days that I was walking around there, but I decided, let me give this guy something. So I went to Starbucks and I bought maybe a cafe latte and like 2 croissants, a pastry, and I gave them to this guy. And man, the smile that this guy gave me, the happiness that I felt from him, from just getting, a couple of things that we really take for granted. Any one of us can drink cafe latte in the morning or have 2 croissants, but not this guy. And now that he got something that he doesn't have, man, the smile was something really cool. And it really, really made me think about my own life. And it actually got me to realize how really damn well things are going for me. When you become grateful, when you start to actually show appreciation for all the good things that you have in life, what happens is that, you know, you're priming your reticular activation system. You're priming it. You're telling it to focus on the good things, on the things that you already have in life. That, you know, the reasons why you can already be happy about your life. And what happens is that, you know, the more you do that, the happier you become, because smaller and smaller things make you happy. And what happens in the end is that you place less conditions on your happiness. That you can you can actually be happy just sitting in the woods and like watching the sky, watching the clouds. You can find contentment in much smaller things. You're filling your mind up with the reasons why you should be happy, why you are fortunate. And now what happens is that actually life just becomes a much more pleasant experience. And you actually stop hurting yourself. And, you know, one of those really great teachers of gratitude that I have, actually, let me show you, is Tuisko. It's the dear dog of our family. And the really cool thing about him is that, you know, each time I come home, he's actually just happy to see me. He's happy to see that I came home, that I made it safely. And, you know, each time he's 15 years old, and each time he gets a sausage, it's like, and he eats it, it's like he ate the first sausage of his life. It never changes because he's so grateful to have food to put into his mouth. So, I mean, thanks to us for that. So now, you know, to leave you, to end this video, I want to tell you about a really powerful technique. And this technique is actually, it's something that's used by a lot of millionaires, and which is where I got it from myself, and which is why I started doing it myself, is that, you know, so what I want you to do is just grab a notebook and a pen, and what you're going to do is that each morning that you wake up, you're going to write down 3 reasons why you're grateful today. 3 things in your life that make you happy, that you feel gratitude for. And, you know, you start doing this, you do it for a week, for 2 weeks, for 3 weeks, for a month, and you're going to start to see your perspective changing. So, you know, you have these petty little things that used to really make you annoyed before, but now, since you're focusing on the good, it's going to help you to put those negative things in perspective and to actually realize how fortunate you are already with all that you have. And, you know, I'm telling you, if you start doing this technique, it's really going to change your life. So, yeah, I think that's probably everything that I want to say about gratitude today. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you find it useful. You know, if you like it, you can share it, no problem. And, you know, I'm going to see you next time. We're going to have a lot more exciting video content coming up for you. And, you know, from my behalf and Tuisko, bye-bye.